crushing it at these book clubs because we keep getting really incredible guests, aka the authors of all these incredible books. I always get kind of stuck in one author and then I go, oh, I can't read anything else. Nothing's ever going to be that good. And then I find a new author and I go, okay, there's other books that good where I cannot put it down. And that was what this one was. I'm going to bring in our guest, obviously. It's Freida herself, the author of this book. So Freida, let's bring her in and ask her all of the juicy questions. Hi, thank you so much for coming. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know everybody is so excited to hear from you, so thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
These are all the big book guys in our club, and we're obsessed with your writing, and you are just the cutest. So this was a page turner. It was so good, and we have a lot of questions for you. When you published The Housemaid, were you expecting this kind of fan love and reaction?
No, definitely not. It's actually a funny story. I wrote it like many years before I even submitted it to my publisher, Book Couture, because I didn't think it was that good.
Stop.
I was like, oh, I kept pushing it back on my publishing schedule and pushing it back. And then when my publisher approached me, I thought it had something good to it, but it had issues with it and I didn't know how to fix them. When they approached me, I was like, oh, this publisher will help me fix it. So I gave it to them and they were really excited about it. And I was like, wow, yay. So we fixed it together. But yeah, it was this book that I had on my hard drive for like years and just never published because I was like, this sucks.
That's so crazy. People do this with music, like musicians do this, artists do it, authors do it. I remember Carly Pierce telling me that she didn't think her song Every Little Thing was going to be a hit. And somebody looked at her and said, no, that song's going to change your life. And it did. And it blows my mind that you could have thought like, this book, it is what it is, because everyone reading it and that has read it, and myself included, I'm like, it keeps me up at night how good it was.
Well, part of it was like the first person to read all of my books is always my mom. She's like, every time I write something, I give it to her, but I was afraid to give her this book because she has this huge phobia of being trapped in like a room or something. So I'm like, she's going to hate it. And then it's going to kill my confidence. I can't publish it. So that was part of it. I was just like, if my mom can't read it, then forget it. I can't do it.
And did your mom read it and love it?
She did. So when I finally gave it to her, right around when I was giving it to my publisher, I was like, this is going to come out. Why don't you just read it? You can skip the locked in the room part. And she was like, I can't believe you didn't give this to me. I love this book.
I get that. I too am afraid of being, I mean, if there's any weirdos out there that like being trapped in a small room, I'm worried about you. But at first when I read it, I remember reading the beginning prologue and I go, oh, well, I already know like this is going to happen. Or I was already assuming so many things. So the twist really hit me where I was like, oh, what? I recorded my reaction. But
the way you're so passionate, I am already sold.
Oh, I'm so passionate about it. I always want to know, like, who do you enjoy reading books from? I don't really listen to many podcasts, sue me, but do you read other books? Is there like an author that you enjoy reading?
I love to read. Reading is like, aside from writing, reading is my favorite thing to do. And that's like, if I had a podcast, like I could go on for like a couple hours about my favorite authors. I think I'm going to say my favorite right now is not a thriller author. It's probably Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm like obsessed with her right now. I love her.
Yes. I mean, we all know the Seven Husbands. Is there another favorite you have?
My most recent favorite is, and my brain goes a little blank during these things, the Carrie Soto book. Carrie Soto's back. That's it. Carrie Soto's back.
Yes.
I loved it. And it was so funny because I'm not into sports at all. And I was like, a tennis book, I'm not going to like that. But I was like, I think I got it for $2 on BookBub. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. I like that other book she wrote. And I was like, I love this book. This is so good. And then I loved Seven Husbands. Amazing. If I started naming the ones I like, I would just be naming every book.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have you make us a list or something one day of your top
Yeah.
5 favorite books that you've ever read, because we need to pick one for one of our book club meetings. I always find authors' brains so fascinating. What is it like to be in your brain when you're writing a book like this? I asked Colleen Hoover this too, where I was like, are you like, wow, I am dark? Like, what is your brain to get there?
Well, I don't have any comparison because I've only just had the one brain, but sometimes when I'm writing something, I'm just like, I'm so excited just for like, oh, people are gonna love that. Like, I just get so excited just to show someone, and like I imagine people reading it. That's like, like all this other stuff with publishing, whatever, but just the idea of people reading my books is just so exciting. I've been writing since I was like 9 years old. And when you're 9, getting people to read your stuff, like a teenager, nobody wants to read your writing. You're like, please read this. I wrote this story. Please read it. And nobody wants to, probably because it's terrible. But
like
so it's
about the
so
book
cool.
I wrote at 9 about dinosaurs.
It's so cool that people actually are going to read it and like that they'll enjoy it. So that's my exciting thing, just imagining people liking it.
That must be a dream come true, because obviously people like it and you've just gotten so much love from this book. And do you have any untold stories that are just saved in your notes where you go, like, is that where you put your inspiration? You just go into your notes if you see something and write something down? Like, I always think about, I like to write music. And anytime I get inspired by anything, I just have a notes section in my phone for music. And I'm wondering if you do the same thing.
Absolutely. And so I used to keep it in my head. And then I had this great idea and I realized I forgot it. And I was like, I can't believe I forgot that. So now I keep it in a drafts file in my email. And anytime I get an idea, I just kind of like scribble it in there, type it in there. Then I know it's saved and I can come back to it.
You're also a practicing physician specializing in brain injuries, which is, I'm like, how do you, to write a book and to continue to be a writer, I feel like your head has to be in it at all times, but then you're learning about brains. Like, how do you balance being a writer and learning about brains? Seems crazy.
First of all, I just want to emphasize I am not a brain surgeon. People keep saying that, like, how does she see a brain surgeon and and like, I could not do that. That would be too much. I don't think anyone could do that. So not a surgeon. I have like a subspecialty in brain injury, and I see a lot of stroke and, rehabilitation patients. I only do it part-time right now. So I'm like kind of half time. So I'm able to split it a little bit. I have most of my afternoons free to work, but it actually, in the last few months, it just got to be too much. I was like starting to almost have like panic attacks thinking about everything I had to do. So that was the point where I ended up telling my boss a few months ago I was going to cut back to just like doing like per diem. So like once a week, just like weekend coverage stuff. So it was a hard decision. I was thinking about it for like a year or two before I actually did it. I really, really didn't want to give it up, but I was also like making myself nuts.
Yeah, you gotta, at that point, take a step back from something. If you're starting to get panic attacks or anxiety over it, I hate that for you. I'm glad you took a step back from that. Okay, when you give Bombas this holiday, you're giving more comfort, because their socks, underwear, t-shirts, actually even their slippers are made with such absurdly soft materials that you'll want to keep a few for yourself. I did. I actually did. When they were reaching out to be a sponsor, I was like, I'd like to test them first. That I was going to give them as gifts. Nope, they're mine now. And they do more good, because for every item you purchase, they donate another to someone who needs it. Socks, underwear, t-shirts are the 3 most requested clothing items in homeless shelters. So when you buy yours from Bombas, you're also donating essential items to those who need them. And how perfect is that? But Bombas doesn't just do good, they feel good. Everything is made to make you more comfortable, from their breathable yet supportive underwear to their Sherpa-lined slippers. And you cannot forget about their famous socks. I wear them every single day. They are ultra plush and made from luxe materials like merino wool and cashmere to keep your little toesies nice and toasty. They make perfect gifts too, with their ready-to-go, beautifully designed gift boxes filled with high-quality basics your loved ones will enjoy all year long. And they're covered with a 100% happiness guarantee. That means super easy returns and size exchanges. Truly no hassle. So go to bombas.com bombas.com/Vine and use code VINE for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Vine and use code VINE at checkout. bombas.com/Vine, code VINE. Support for today's episode comes from Jenni Kayne, your one-stop shop for handcrafted furniture and home decor, perfect for refreshing your space for the holiday season. You can truly make any home your dream home with Jenni Kayne's timeless collection. Shopping for home decor, well, I think can be stressful and time-consuming, that's for sure. But Jenni Kayne has the elevated style and quality you've been looking for. From pillows and throws to beds and nightstands, find your forever pieces with my exclusive 15% off discount. Go to jennikayne.com/home and use code VINE to get 15% off your entire order. I decided to level up with their elevated dinnerware, a linen tablecloth, their scented candles. Oh, they're magical. If you haven't tried a Jenni Kayne candle yet, you're in for a treat. I'm telling you, they are my absolute fave. I'm pretty sure I have one in almost every room in my house. They smell incredible. They last longer than you'd expect as well. A perfect gift for your loved ones. I will never be mad at a gifted candle. And Jenni Kayne also has your high-end kitchen essentials like their Pacific dinnerware and serveware with pieces starting at $25. It's the easiest way to completely elevate your dining room and kitchen aesthetic just in time for hosting your loved ones. I did that the other night. Used all my Jenni Kayne stuff. Find your favorite pieces at jennikayne.com/home. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code VINE at checkout. That's 15% off your first order. JENNIKAYNE.com/home, promo code VINE. Also, do you think Andrew from the book had a brain injury at some point in his life? Because if you learn about brains, you realize that people that are that psychopath or sociopaths, there's got to be some sort of brain injury happening or one too many like concussions. I don't know. There's obviously something wrong with him. Did he have a brain injury?
I did not imagine that he had a brain injury. Although I do have a lot of books. I actually have a book called Brain Damage, which of all my books, it's kind of the most autobiographical within my own field. It's about a woman who has a severe traumatic brain injury when she was shot in the head. And it's her having this horrible brain injury and trying to also figure out who shot her in the head. So that's the plot of that one. It's very much based on my real experiences, except for the murder mystery part, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, who knows? How did you come up with the inspiration for this book?
I really love the idea of like a terrible boss story. That's kind of like so that's another early book about how earlier in my medical training, I got kind of tormented by one of my senior residents. And I just like the idea, in a lot of my books, I have this, just like somebody in a terrible situation where they're tormented by somebody they either work with or live with. And I was just thinking like, imagine like you're a housemaid, and you're like working for this family and they treat you like crap. And I was like kind of looking online for true stories of like worst like cleaning person job ever and like awful things people did. And people were like, yeah, I cleaned for this woman. She used to leave her used tampons everywhere and just like awful
happened in
stuff.
the book.
So I was just
happened in the book.
Great. Yeah. Like that's a great idea. So I was just like trying to like think of like, you know, true experiences of people who like had really awful experiences as a cleaning person.
My God.
Incorporate like the worst stuff that you could possibly do.
And you had two different perspectives through the book. Whose perspective did you start writing first?
I always write books chronologically. So
you do.
Some people will tell me they skip ahead, but I feel like if you do that, for me personally, if I do that, I'll never go back and write the hard part. So I like to just go chronologically. So the order you're reading it is the order it was written, except, you know, if a scene, you know, has to be going earlier, I'm not going to say, no, I already wrote that part, I can't add anything else. But it's generally just chronological. And then,
so was Andrew inspired from like working for a terrible person or your colleague being terrible to you? Was that the Andrew?
Andrew was inspired by, thankfully, Andrew is not inspired by a real person.
Okay, good.
Although some of the punishments in the room is actually an interesting story because I wanted, you know, I was obsessed with the idea of a room and these punishments he makes her do, but I didn't want them to be too gruesome. Like I'm the kind of author, I'm not horror, I'm thriller. So I don't like anything to be too bloody, gory. So I was like trying to come up with things that were like torture, but not stab yourself in the eye with a fork or something like that.
Yeah, just pulling out hairs from the head, 100 of them.
Yeah, so that's like kind of awful, but it's not like gruesome.
Yeah.
So I enlisted my whole family. I distinctly remembered making both my husband at 2 different times, making both my husband and my teenager sit with me while I said, help me think of ways that you can be tortured. And I can't even remember which ones I included, but they were all like horrible bright light, horrible annoying noise. Like it was just all these things that we thought of that would be like torture, but not gruesome.
Pulling out teeth is a little gruesome, but that's
so that it crescendoed to that.
Yeah,
I love that this was family bonding time.
Family bonding time. What is the worst torture you could come up with for a person? And then you get to see how sick your family members are. Like, what about this?
That's how we bond. We give horrible punishments to do in an attic.
Does anyone else in your family write?
No, I mean, not really. Certainly my husband does not. He's not a creative person.
All right, because you have 2 kids, don't you?
Yeah, they're little-ish. Well, they're not big. They're not fully grown yet.
Okay, so you don't know what direction they're gonna go with creativity.
Yeah, they don't want to be writers or doctors. They very vehemently do not want to be doctors.
Interesting. That's like when I grew up, I wanted to be a vet. And then I learned very quickly that you'd have to deal with dying animals. And I was like, and that ain't for me.
Oh, yeah.
And for that reason, I'm out. Maggie, did you say there's a question from?
There wasn't a question, but somebody said, this is so gross. I was a nanny and the dad left his toenails under the couch. And he also had a 16-year-old girlfriend.
Millie on that guy.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Where's Millie?
Oh my God, where's Millie when you need her? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I always want to know too if you have visuals. Like, do you have a visual of what Andrew, Millie, Nina, like what they look like to you, or do you like the reader to figure that out for themselves?
Yeah, I don't usually describe people in huge amounts of detail because I do want people to picture them the way you want. Like I hate it actually when I'm reading a book and I have a visual of a character and like you see them a certain way and then the author will say, and her long blonde hair. And I'm like, no, she's a brunette. That's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's actually really fair. What if it got cast as a movie?
Like, who would you want to play?
Yeah, who would you want to play the characters in if it turned into a movie?
People ask me that a lot. And I kind of would love, like I have dream cast members. Like I have this fantasy that like maybe somehow Reese Witherspoon will like get interested in it because I love her and she'd be an awesome Nina.
Yes, she would be a great Nina.
She'd be a great Nina. And I kind of feel like, I mean, I don't know what, probably for Andrew, but like I would love for like Chris Hemsworth to be just involved in some way.
Yes. Just maybe without a shirt on.
Yeah, he should just be involved in it.
I also wanted to know if we missed clues in the beginning that this twist was coming, because sometimes you read it back and because I read a different book twice, and the second time I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not pick up on that? Did you have any clues in the first part? You know how you do 2 parts. In the first part, was there any clues that we missed?
People ask me that a lot, and usually I could like rack off a bunch of clues. But I'm going blank right now. One especially, people will say, my book Never Lie, when people will always ask me for the clues, and I've got a list of those in my head. But this one, I don't remember. I don't know if there were any specific clues. I think, you have to balance it with the clues. You don't want it to be too much and you give it away. Yeah. But you don't want to be too little. And then people are like, well, you could never have seen that coming. So it's a difficult balance.
Ask.
When you write, because you write chronologically, do you know the whole story, or are you kind of improvising as you go?
I definitely know the twist. Like I won't start a book until I know the twist. Like sometimes I'll have an idea for like the beginning, like, oh, this is a great premise, but I don't know what the twist should be. Like I'd love to write a book about, I don't know, like some cult or something, but I don't know what the twist is, so I can't write it. So I
Yeah.
wait until I come up with the twist, and then I start planning the rest of it in my head. But I don't do like some people have like, you know, like every scene mapped out, the whiteboard with all the lines and like everything. I don't do that. I kind of let the characters take me where they want to in a way. But I think the twist is really important in a thriller, because if you don't know what it's going to be, I feel like it's hard to set everything up for it. And I use this expression, like when I didn't know it, I kind of write myself into a corner where like I've gone in a direction and I just don't know how to get to the twist from there. And you end up having to backtrack. So I think it's better, you know, to know the twist going in.
Oh, I want to know if any of the big book guys saw the twist coming, because I was like shocked, did not see it coming at all. I want to know if anyone else saw it. I see people shaking their head no, but did
I
anyone?
need to read this.
Yeah, you do.
do.
You really do. Did anyone see the twist coming?
No, somebody
No.
said a little tiny bit. Lee, I see you a little tiny bit, but everybody else, no.
What I find weird is like sometimes I think a twist is really obvious in a book I write and no one gets it. And other times I'm like, this twist, nobody will figure it out. And everyone's like, oh, I knew it. And I'm like, so
That's
frustrating.
hard. That's hard. I feel like it's so hard to write a book. Like writing music, I always need about 8 people in the room to help me, because I don't know how to, like, I can come up with lyrics, okay, but I need someone to like give me the format, put it into a specific style of a song, play the instruments. And I feel like as an author, you just have to do it all yourself. And it's just so impressive how your brain can work like that. Off the Vine is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Now, most of you listening right now, you're probably multitasking. While you're listening to me talk, you're maybe driving, cooking, cleaning, exercising, grocery shopping, whatever you're doing. If you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else that you can be doing right now, and that's getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. Super easy. You can save money by doing it right from your phone in your own hands. And drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. So discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcasts, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now, quote your car insurance at progressive.com, and join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National average 12-month savings $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. This episode of Off the Vine is brought to you by the new L'Oreal Paris Bright Reveal Dark Spot Serum and Broad Spectrum SPF 50 Daily Lotion. Do you have dark spots? I did. Well, game over. Just because summer is over doesn't mean you stop wearing SPF. I know that for a fact. SPF is every single day, you guys. If you want to get rid of your dark spots, SPF is so important. I sadly know this from experience. I was one of those gals that did tanning beds when I was younger. I'm paying for it now. 100% of dark spots are intensified by the sun. The Bright Reveal SPF 50 Daily UV Lotion visibly reduces the appearance of dark spots and resists sun-induced signs of aging. So it's a lightweight and non-greasy sunscreen that has an invisible texture, which primes super well with makeup. Plus, it's made and tested for all skin tones and suitable for sensitive skin. And the Bright Reveal Dark Spot Serum visibly fades all types of dark spots, making your skin texture look refined and smooth. So when paired together, this derm-validated duo visibly reduces the look of dark spots in only 1 week. Okay, 1 week. That's crazy fast. So discover the new Bright Reveal Dark Spot Duo. Visit Target online and in-store to buy yours today. But I want to know, if you were Millie, or I guess anyone can answer this, if you're Millie, at what point would you have quit that job? Because as soon as I like got up into the attic and saw that there's no lock, just only on the outside, and the family seemed a bit strange, I would have been like, I don't know if this is for me. Again, it was better than living in her car, but at what point, if you were Millie, would you have quit?
I think it's like, that's why I wanted to make her situation really desperate, that she was like, had been in jail, she had no other opportunities, she was in her car, if she needed an address. So like there was just no other option but to stay. That said, like one of the comments people say about my books a lot is like, your protagonists are so dumb and they don't make such terrible decisions. I'm like, yeah, that's probably true, but the good decisions don't lead to interesting things happening. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want the book to just be
you wouldn't
like,
have a book.
yeah, you wouldn't be like, oh, I quit the job and then that was the end of it. Or I called the police and let them handle it. The end.
That's the same as like on Bachelor shows when people are like, I'm sick of the drama. Like, get that girl out of here. And then she leaves and everyone's like, this show's boring. Like, it's just,
I know. I love the
hard to win.
drama person. So I
Yeah.
always hate it when they get like voted off or kicked off or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's the entertaining. It's the meat and potatoes of the whole show. You're like, I need more. That's why we're watching in the first place. I did want to open it up to the big book guys to ask any unanswered questions that they may have that I didn't ask. I don't know. I feel like I blank on things, then after I go, why didn't I ask her that? So I'm leaning on the big book guys for some questions.
I said, when is the third coming out? Can you answer that one?
Yeah, when is the third book
Oh my
coming
God,
out?
please tell me.
So in the third one has a white cover. I was making people guess that cover like forever. And I was like making a joke like, oh, well, the book was published by a British company, but at least they made the covers like red, white, and blue. And then someone pointed out to me that the British flag was also red, white, and blue. Felt a little stupid then. And many other flags, apparently. You know. Anyway,
There's a lot of those.
It's coming out in June, and it's also about Millie. And this one, she's married and has children. So I really just wanted to go in a completely different direction. I didn't want it to just be like the same book again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's another family, Millie, you know. So this one's really just very different. But I really wanted to write it because I had a good idea for it. And I was just like, I felt like it felt unfinished. It felt like there needed to be this third part to it. And now to me, it feels finished now.
What's the title? Can you tell us?
It's called The Housemaid Is Watching, which I'm also excited about because it's the first title of the three of them that I personally came up with. And I didn't come up with the housemaid because housemaid, I was saying kind of about British stuff. It sounds very British to me. Like I would never, that is not a word I would ever use, like housemaid. So
True.
when they said that, I was like, that I'm not British.
All right. So I had a couple questions, but I'll just ask one so other people have
Yes, two. You can ask two.
But well, I have two then. I keep thinking about Nina and Cecilia. Like, my question is like, did you have any idea when you wrapped up the book, like, what do you think they went and did? Like, where did they go and what did they end up
Great
doing?
question.
I don't think about things like that. Sequels are sort of like new to me in a way. Like this is really the only thriller that I've written that has a sequel. And it just like, people loved it so much. I just felt compelled to do it. But I mean, in my head, I never think about what they're doing after. I mean, I imagine them like, having like a happy life after that, just like kind of being on their own together. But I never like pictured anything specific. And I think I purposely like didn't want to bring them back for that reason. Like I just wanted to picture them having this like happy life together. Like
Yeah, I
they're
picture
done.
them like
They
going
got
to
their
another
happy
realm.
ending done.
Like they're like in another realm, in like a heaven happy space where they're just like, we don't know where they are, but they're in another world where they're just happy at all times.
Right. They've been through enough. They can be happy.
My other question was, I probably know the answer to this, but who is your favorite character to write in the book?
I have a very, very sad little TikTok with like 4 videos.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like I'm too old for TikTok somehow. But anyway, I have a TikTok about my favorite character in the first housemaid book. And I won't go through the whole thing. It's a really funny video, but I would say my favorite character is Cecilia. She's very fun to write, but you can watch my little TikTok on it if you want.
I'm definitely going to watch your TikTok on it. I want to know all of it. Please don't feel too old for TikTok. I want to know all your thoughts on all these books always.
My question is kind of for Kaitlyn, but you posted that you recorded your reaction to reading one of the chapters. And so I think I know what it was, but I just wanted to see what chapter it was.
It was when she went, oh, did they make food that good in prison or whatever? She said, like, when I was like, oh, she knows. She knows. She knows. It was when I read that, and then I kept flipping, and it like turned into the different perspective, and it was like how to sabotage whatever I forget what exactly it was.
Your
but
sadistic evil husband.
yes,
The guide.
and I was like, this changes everything, and it was crazy because I love a twist in a book, and I knew something was going to happen, but I just thought it was going to be okay. Now she's locked in the room. Like, what next? But that whole twist was pretty great, pretty genius. But that's the part I recorded.
Okay, that's different than what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be when they switched from Nina or Millie's perspective to Nina's, but I definitely get where you were seeing that, because that was like, oh, she knows something. But I thought it was because she thought they spent the night in New York together, and so that's what she was thinking. But it
kind of was both, because I saw that, and then I continued to like flip the pages and saw like, okay, now it's a different perspective and all that. So you're kind of right. It was a little bit of both.
I just wanted to comment. I was just reminded of something from the last question. Actually, when I originally was planning the book out in my head, my thought was that Nina and Enzo would like end up living happily ever after together. Like that was my original idea. And then somehow it just didn't feel right. So it just didn't happen. And I think that was the right decision. But
yes, I think so too.
So first off, I wanted to say I am not good with suspense at all. Like I have to get through books really fast like this. But I want to thank you, Freida, for at least giving us a more like finely tied like ending. Like you could still kind of make your own predictions about where everybody went after that, but I was satisfied, so I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I also wanted to ask, I mean, not necessarily about this book specifically, but you said you write from like in chronological order. So how long typically does your whole process take you? I'm someone who's always been a really bad writer, and so I'm just curious if you're not really, besides in like obviously the editing process, how long it takes you to go from planning to like submitting, I guess.
So what I generally do is like, I don't write multiple books at once. Like I usually will, like, if I have an idea, I'll start thinking about it, and like I'll just have it kind of percolating in my head while I'm working, showering is a big time of like writing planning for me, taking walks, stuff like that. And as the time goes on, I'll start planning more specific things and like plot details. And then like, well, now I work, so I'll like wait for a time when I know my work schedule is late, or I know I have a week off coming up, or a time when I know I'm going to have a lot of time to write. And at that point, I'll just like start writing like crazy. And I've got most of it planned out in my head by then. And this is not something I used to be able to do, but I've been writing novels for so long as I can remember, really. So I've just like really, like when I have an idea in my head, I can almost kind of like transcribe it like directly onto the page without like too much effort at this point. Impressive. So I can usually write it, do a draft in like a few weeks. But of course, then the editing can take months after that. And if I don't like it, then it'll just sit on my hard drive for years. And like somebody will, there'll be an opportunity to, have it worked on. Like somebody say, oh, do you have something new? And then I'll start working on it again. Like just today, I picked up a manuscript that I can't even remember when I wrote it. I wrote a long time ago, and it looked completely new to me, and it was fun to work on it. I was editing it. So it can be a multiple year process, but it can also be very quick if it all comes out exactly like I want.
That's so awesome. Impressive. Gosh.
I was wondering, I have a question about Cece or Cecilia. I work in the child abuse and neglect field. So you know, a lot of what went on with her was so probably traumatic in the book. But the way that she reacted to Millie a lot without knowing much about her was interesting to me, because she seemed kind of, I don't really like saying this, but maybe kind of bratty towards Millie. And I'm wondering, in your mind, whenever you're writing the book, why was that? Is it because her mom was there telling her, you know, Nina was there telling her, you know, we don't like her for whatever reason? Or was it the grandmother and how she acted? Or was it the way that she was kept from her mom, and so that's just how she was whenever her mom would get punished? Like, who was Cecilia to you with that?
Like, part of it was just like sort of having fun with her just being a bratty child, and, you know, another way to torment Millie. I think she was like just so traumatized by what was happening with her mother that she was just constantly acting out. It's like when a kid is, you know, has a bad home life, and then they start acting badly at school, and you don't really know why, but they're just like acting out like all the time. So like she could be good with her mom because she's worried about her mom, but like everyone else, she's sort of a brat around.
Thank you. Okay, and then Ashley?
My question was like your characters and their reactions and like their personalities and everything, they're like so vividly drawn out. Like, how do you approach developing the characters? Like, how much do you have them outlined versus like creating them as you go, like how they react in different situations?
The characters are, to me, are like very important, like in my head. Like, I have to have, when I'm writing about a character, it has to be somebody who intrigues me, that I care about. Otherwise they won't be a good character. So I mean, I really try to like get in their head, and also like have something about them that's like sympathetic in a way. Like, even though Andrew, like, oh, he's like horrible, he's a sociopath, like he also was tormented by his own mother. So like there's this sort of sympathetic, I mean, I wouldn't call him sympathetic exactly, but like even the villains, like I like to give them something vulnerable about them that I can sort of not like them exactly, but just like have some sort of empathy for them. But like every character I'm thinking like, what makes them tick? Like, what do they care about? Like, what are their goals? And I also, like, in my book, I always have to have like some guy in the book that I have a little crush on, because I think I'm a romantic at heart. So I always need to have that in my books.
Hi. Well, first of all, I absolutely love both of the books. I cannot wait for the third. So good. I am so curious to know what the meaning of the white clothing was throughout the book.
It had, you know, it's funny, like people ask me a lot, like, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? And sometimes it's just like, it doesn't have a meaning. It's like, I just thought like, okay, you know, like he's obsessed with white and he wants all his, you know, women to wear white. And I think there's no meaning exactly beyond that.
Creepiness.
Like, it's creepy. Like, white's a creepy color in a way. Like, I don't know, like creepy. I guess I find wedding dresses creepy. I don't know, but
I get that.
There's something, I don't know. It doesn't have a meaning. Like there's some literary meaning or like some, you know, like some like message behind it. It's more just like, oh, this is something I find creepy. Yeah. So I'm gonna put it in there.
Wait, that's a really funny point. I too find wedding dresses creepy. Yes, because it's like think about this concept. You're dressing in all white because you're supposed to be like a virgin while your dad, like this man hands you away to another man and you're in all white. It's creepy. I get it. I love it. I'll wear white on my wedding day. I get where you're coming from.
I did not wear white on my wedding dress.
You did?
I wore black and white. No, I did not. And I bought my dress at Target.
Nice.
I didn't wear Target queen.
I'm the Target queen. I bought my wedding dress there.
Thank you, all the big book guys, for your questions, and Freida for taking the time tonight to answer all of them and let us get in your brain for a little second. It was so fun, and everyone needs to read the second one, and then I cannot wait for the third one.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. And you guys look like you're so comfy there. I'm like really jealous.
We're so comfortable. We are really cozy, and we've got cheese and dogs, and we're happy. And thank you again. So let's take a vote on if we should read part 2, which I'm biased because it's so good. Or if you guys want to start a new book, which I will not be upset at. We could do that too. But let's take a vote.
New book is
Yeah.
New book is winning.
New book's winning. Okay, that's fair.
We can.
I get that. But maybe just read the second one whenever you have a chance because it's so great. But I totally get doing a new one.
Yeah, we can.
Because
still
we
talk
want a new
about
author that we can slide into their DMs and force them into coming on the pod.
Oh,
Hey,
that's
Bailey,
funny.
sing us out with a harmonica
Yeah.
outro.
it. Yep. Here we go. Here we go.
That's my arm.
Yeah. Oh, the Lord is good to me. And so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and the rain and the apple seed. The Lord is good to me. Johnny Appleseed. Amen. Wow. We are Fergie and Jesus. We are a combination of Fergie and Jesus. Look at everyone clapping for you.
Got my new talent, guys. I'm quitting everything.
So cute.
And 4 hugs a day.
4 hugs
Sing
a day?
song?
Wait, what? 4 hugs a day?
Oh, we need to talk
Stand
about
by. This is
No, we really do.
I don't know about this.
you
need 4 hugs a day?
Yeah,
The
that's
minimum.
the minimum.
That's the minimum.
Get 4 hugs.
Bare minimum, 4 hugs a day.
You can get 1, okay?
This is not good.
well, you need to go search for hugs from strangers
Probably. Yeah.
because
Because
It sounds like Chicago.
Nobody gets enough hugs a day.
Can I hear it?
Minimum number is 4. Now,
Nobody buys
if you haven't got 4 hugs today, then you better get some more. That's the minimum 4 hugs a day. The maximum 4 hugs a day.
How it's not a trending TikTok
That's
song.
the minimum
It's gonna be.
4 hugs a day. The minimum 4 hugs a day. That's the minimum 4 hugs a day.
I'm Kaitlyn Bristowe. I'll see you next Tuesday. See you next